Okay, my name is Joel Weldon. I'm from Valdosta originally. I've lived here all my life. And my interest in MMA, I started watching the old UFCs, and I thought I'd like to compete on that level. I've always been a fan of combat sports. Yeah, I started watching boxing when I was probably 10 years old, my first sport. So that's where my basic interest in that comes from. And I've got that competitive nature in me. I wrestled in high school, and that was actually one of the things that got me interested in MMA. As I seen wrestlers start to have some success with it, the amateur wrestlers, and I have a real love for amateur wrestling, so that and the boxing end of it. So I've never done any other kind of traditional martial art or anything. I didn't start doing any particular martial arts other than the high school wrestling until I came here.
How'd you do in high school wrestling?
I was fair. Actually, I was on the one of the first teams Lowndes ever had as a wrestling team. So, I mean, I didn't start until I was in high school, where most of the kids start, you know, some of them even as early as elementary school. So I had a little bit of a disadvantage there, but I really loved the sport. I worked hard and competed at it. Well, of course, I like the wrestling. I mean, I've got a fairly solid wrestling background, and I do pretty good on that end. I really enjoy the submission end of it. And I've had a lifelong love for boxing, even more so than kickboxing. I've watched some kickboxing, but I've been watching boxing since I was a child. And so the boxing and the wrestling, that's why I would classify myself as a boxer wrestler. Oh, it takes a mixture. It takes both ground and stand-up. You have to add the submission with the wrestling, which I have worked hard on that, and I do have some submission skills. I have great submission defense. Let's say my wrestling skills are so you do have to be well balanced. That's one of the things that makes this sport it's so difficult, as opposed to boxing. All you're doing is, is concentrating on your hands. I mean, your hands and footwork, and upper body movement. With this, you have to do the boxing. You have to work the kickboxing. You have to do the Muay Thai style kickboxing with the knees and the elbows, and then you have to do the wrestling and submission end of it. And it's a lot. It's hard to get all that work in. It really takes some time to get your craft up to level. I really focus on, one of the things is I really focus on the basics, on positioning and where to keep my arms at and where to keep just different things. And I think I have kind of a natural knack for staying out of submissions. I mean, that's part of it. And the other part of it is the focus on the basics. And if you keep yourself in the right position, it's hard to be submitted. I would say my defensive side is ahead of my offensive side right now. But you definitely can transition defense and offense. And I mean, the defense, you give yourself an opportunity to capitalize on a mistake by the opponent. You let him open up, and I mean, you have to attack, but there's times when you just have to play defense and let them make a mistake, and then capitalize on that. And I would say that's probably the thing that helps me the most with having the good defensive skills. Even on the stand-up with the boxing end, my defensive skills are pretty good. I've always done a pretty good job of blocking shots and keeping PA. I mean, I get called, but I do a pretty good job of protecting my head. If I had to say one advantage, and I would say, in my opinion, this is my greatest talent, is my dedication. As I work incredibly hard. Sensei Corbett up here, he really puts us through some hardcore conditioning, and basically tries to break us. And I come as consistently as anybody that's ever come up here. I've worked incredibly hard on my conditioning, so I think my conditioning and my dedication is definitely my biggest asset. My hardest fight was definitely I fought in Athens, Georgia, gym where Forrest Griffin come from, Roy Singer's gym. I fought one of the Muay Thai fighters in an MMA fight, and I got TKO'd in the first round, but it was it was just a brawl. I mean, we really went at it. I got cut pretty bad. It's the only time I've ever been stopped. So that, but it was a really good fight. Even though I did come up on the short end of the fight, I mean, he was a really tough guy. I'd probably have more people come up and compliment me on that fight than any of the other ones that I've had. The ones that I've won. Well, that is what I learned, that I should probably go to my strength and away from his. My boxing skills weren't bad, and I did have him in trouble a couple of times in the fight, but without a doubt, he was a national champion Muay Thai fighter, and I pretty much had opportunities to take him down, and I tried to finish and knock him out instead of go ahead and taking him down and getting him where I would have had more of an advantage in the fight and not been in the danger. Probably my favorite fighter is Antonio Rodrigo Nogueira. I love the submission guy. I mean, I really he's kind of, I mean, he's a black belt, a true black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So I'm nowhere near on his level on the submission end, but he's still kind of that boxer, grappler guy. And I mean, I love his demeanor. I'm not a big fan of really cocky fighters, and I think he has a ton of heart, and that's something that's probably what I admire the most in any fighter, is the heart that they have. Their willingness to fight and their willingness to not quit, and just not cocky, not mouth runners, just guys that have respect for their opponents, but come out and fight hard, fight to win.